Let's troubleshoot that no operations defined in spec error you're seeing in your Spring Boot project with Swagger. This usually means Swagger isn't finding your API endpoints to document. Here's a breakdown of the common causes and how to fix them. 1. Incorrect Swagger annotations. Swagger relies on annotations like @get mapping, @post mapping, @put mapping, @delete mapping, etc., placed above your controller methods. Double-check that you've correctly annotated all your REST endpoints. Make sure the annotation is directly above the method and that the path specified in the annotation matches the actual path your endpoint uses. A small typo in the path like /users versus /user will cause Swagger to miss it. Also ensure your controllers are correctly scanned by Spring. 2. Missing or incorrect @REST-controller or @controller annotation. The @REST-controller or @controller annotation indicates to Spring that a class is a REST controller. Without this annotation, Spring won't recognize your controller methods as endpoints, thus Swagger won't find them. Make sure you have this annotation at the class level of your controller, above the package declaration. 3. Incorrect Swagger configuration. Swagger's integration in Spring Boot usually involves a dependency and potentially a configuration class. Verify that you've included the necessary Swagger dependency in your write-pom.xml write for Maven or write-build.gradle write for Gradle. If you've created a custom configuration class for Swagger, ensure it's correctly configured. Common mistakes involve issues with the docket bean setup or incorrect base packages for scanning. You might need to specify the base package where your controllers reside using base package classes or select.aps request handler selectors. Base package, your .package.name, in your Swagger configuration. 4. Controller package scanning. Ensure that the package containing your controllers is included in the Spring Boot application context component scan. This allows Spring to discover and register your controller beans. You might need to adjust the @component scan annotation in your main application class to encompass the correct package containing the controllers. If you're using a specific @Spring Boot application annotation, check its attributes. 5. Caching issues. Sometimes Swagger UI caches old versions of the API specification. Try clearing your browser's cache and restarting your Spring Boot application. Hard restarting your IDE or even your machine can help too. Force a rebuild of your application after making changes to your code to eliminate this possibility. 6. Dependencies. Conflicts. Conflicting dependencies related to Swagger can cause unexpected behaviors. Check your dependencies to make sure you are not importing incompatible versions. The problem could be solved by carefully managing the dependencies versions. 7. Spring Boot starter issues. Make sure you're using the correct Spring Boot starter for Swagger. The standard option is the SpringDoc Open API Starter Web MVC UI. Check that this is correctly declared in your project's dependencies and that there are no other conflicting versions present. By systematically checking these points, you should be able to identify the root cause of your no operations defined in spec error and get your Swagger documentation working correctly. Remember to rebuild and restart your application after making changes.